Thank you. We'll go ahead and get started. If you'll join me in saying the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome everyone tonight. We'll go ahead and get started. I believe there was a change to the agenda, but I didn't get yet, but it should be right on your agendas.
It's not right on.
Oh, it's not on their agendas. I take that back.
It is the addition of the, maybe. Patrick, where do I have it?
Well, while you're looking for that, I'll just go ahead and announce we are having people record Dot Agu and Dawn Blount for their own personal reasons. And I'll move on to public input while you're looking, Jenna. Is that all right? Or
Yeah.
should I wait so
No,
you can take
you can
minutes?
do
Okay. So moving on to public input, we have Jane Popko, 90,000 from DEP for riparian buffer status. So as far as I know, that is in the making. Do you want to update? Do you know the update on that, Frank? Or
Excuse me, I was.
oh, I'm sorry. The 90,000 grant money that we got, I believe that's been moving forward.
Yes,
Correct?
we just did a wetland delineation study, and now that'll go into the next phase. So, yeah, I met with the coordinator for the grant 2 weeks ago with Kara from Ritu, and have the, we know how to ask a reimbursement from the funds that, you know, have been spent from Ritu doing the wetland delineation and everything, so I have that down. We have to do a quarterly report for the grant, and they'll be starting, the tree planting will take place next spring.
Where are you, Jane? There you are. Did that answer that question?
Well, who's going to be doing the work? Do you have to contract it out, or is it done by Scott and his crew?
No.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
it has to be contracted out.
Okay. And why is it taking so long? I mean,
Well, so we got the grant, it wasn't the prime time to plant anything at that point,
do you
so
plan anything in fall, or do you have to
they're
wait?
telling us to wait till spring.
Okay.
Any other questions in regard to that, Jane?
That's it.
Okay. Pat, you have holiday tree lighting.
Yes. I'm the gopher for the Campbelltown Community Alliance periodically. I do some of the chores while the others can't do it because they're working and have families and all that stuff. So way back in January and February when we first started meeting, some of the newer arrivals to Campbelltown said we ought to have a holiday tree lighting to build community spirit and to do it like some of the other municipalities do, where they came from. So we haven't delved into it other than at this point encouraging you folks to think about the possibilities. And I have a handout for what we've talked about and thought about locations and why this won't work and this will better. But most recently, a suggestion was made that a tree be planted here near the township building where there would be electricity, and afterwards people could come in and have hot chocolate and see Santa Claus and do different things. So this is the little summary that I've done that I'm sure other people can enlighten. And I can send you an electronic copy, but I won't take any more time right now. But the new arrivals get all excited about the kind of things they'd like to do in Campbelltown.
Did it come up at all to discuss with the Campbelltown Fire Company with their plant? Because they always have Santa comes in on a truck and rides around.
I thought about that. No, we didn't go that far.
Okay.
Because first you'd have to agree to do something and we'd have to get a tree planted or whatever. I did go to PABA because they encouraged me to come to talk about our initiatives at one of their events in June. And the number of the business folks there were quite excited about it and thought it would really might perk up some of the businesses to want to do something like Rising Sun or whatever. And then we also met with a couple of the members because they expressed an interest in maybe helping out. And then the executive CEO of the Lebanon County Chamber of Commerce also came forward and said she'd like to be helpful to us to do something like that and would offer free advice, but not legal. So that is our little summary, and I gave you examples of other municipalities that do that, and a photo. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do either of you have? questions, you can read over it yet.
Does the organization, I'm still learning about the organization there. I mean, are they looking to conduct this and just seek approval, or are you looking for this to be?
We clearly have to do it with township support
Yeah.
and help, because you have to approve it. You have to get the land, and we have to go find what kind of a tree we do and see if we can get a
I guess
free one.
that's my question. Are you simply looking for approval of a theoretical project, or are you looking for something that the township orchestrates?
You probably don't have enough time to orchestrate it, so you
Right.
have to have a volunteer group work with the township.
It's also far easier for volunteers and people who aren't bogged down by millions of miles of regulation to work together.
But obviously, the township has to be interested in it. And so the
Right.
examples that we gave to you are townships that in the Harrisburg area apparently do it because they ran an article in Penn Live last year saying, well, here's this one, this kind of township. We also think building community spirit and building more community volunteers will come if we have events. And then I'm hearing from people who've lived here all their life and talking about what they did at the fire company and had Easter egg rolls, and they did this, and they took their Halloween candy to here, and it once was a very active.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
So, there we are.
Thanks.
Yeah, I agree. Not much more to say.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for, as far as I'm concerned, if you're looking for our support, I think it's a great idea, and I would be in favor, of supporting in any way we could. I'd encourage you to work with the fire company and stuff. They have the, make the events coincide, but
Yeah, the key place is where to do it.
Yeah.
That's where your input's important.
Well, I guess I'm wondering like how extensive you're thinking this is gonna be. I mean,
Oh,
to
I think
me,
the first one's small.
I mean, you're talking about planting a tree or having a tree that goes up
If we
and
could-
down?
If we could plant a tree in the fall, that's what my notes say that I gave to you. If we could plant a tree in the fall, such as out here in the township building, then we'd have electric.
yeah.
And suggestions have been made to do it at your land there at Palmyra Road, township land, Palmyra Road and Horseshoe Pike. But we don't know what's potential is available yet for that. And then someone else suggested the community park
I
on the
think-
north side, but you're in the midst of planting trees somewhere or whatever. And then where do we get the electric?
I think there's electric run out there to that park. My concern would be we've had some vandalism happen and this park is at least videotaped at this point.
I had all these
So-
thoughts go racing through my mind. That's why collaboratively working to figure out a way to do it.
Well, yeah, plus the horse, I get the horseshoe park idea, but it's just a bad idea to have people there. And I don't know whether.
There's no
Parking,
park,
and-
walking.
Yeah, it looks pretty driving through, I get that, but if the primary is like gathering the community, that's,
This is an interesting group who sometimes attend meetings and then don't attend meetings, and then they have their ideas after the meeting. So when somebody says we shouldn't do it because of parking problems and crossing the streets and traffic, then somebody else comes through today with my draft and says, oh, I prefer this one, because then you can see it. So we're trying to mesh
I got you.
and make it the best possible practical solution. And we can always do it someplace else in the future when more things are.
We have to watch with planting things behind the building here because of our stormwater facilities right on the
Right.
ground here, so we have to be careful with that too.
I would think there's somewhere we could find that could make work.
Okay, well, maybe we can read over your submission and put it on the agenda for August. Would that suit
It's fine with me.
you too? Okay, we'll do that.
I'll
Sound
go
good?
back to those carriage park people who came up with this idea. Tell them they have responsibility.
Okay, perfect. All right, and Josh Stout, you're on the agenda, so we'll wait for you till we get there, okay? Unless you had something else besides what you came in today for. Okay. All right, so moving on then, if we can,
Changes to the agenda?
yes, thank you.
Under new business, it'll be approval, I'm seeking approval for a quote for CM High to replace the traffic light at the pole and the traffic system there at 322 and 117.
Which is kind of old business because we discussed that at some
Yeah.
point. Okay. So moving on then, do I have a motion to approve Board of Supervisor meeting minutes from June 11th?
So,
Do I have a
Second.
second? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to those workshop meeting minutes, I was just wondering, there was, in the executive session, do we need to have in there that no action was taken? Because I didn't see that written,
I can add it.
if that's something that should be in there. And do I have a motion to change that and approve the workshop minutes then?
motion to approve as amended.
Do I have a second? I'll second. All those in favor? Aye. All right, moving on. Bill and payroll, 12/19. Do I have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I do not have 13/19.
I might have it.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve 13/19?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Is it on
Aye.
your desk?
No, I don't. I didn't. Mm-mm.
It was attached to the email.
Yeah, I didn't. I'm a paper person, so no, I didn't look at the email. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Maybe that's my fault. Everybody found out my ugly truth now. I need paper. All right. Moving on. Township manager.
Yeah. Stuff together here. Okay, I have a few things just to go over. Repairs have begun on Stoppers Church Road. The road was closed today. East and West Patrick are slated to have repairs completed next. There will be a meeting here at the Township Building, July 18th at 7 p.m. with Mount Joy and Conewaga Townships to discuss the bridge located at Prospect Road that Conewaga and Mount Joy own together. There may be some implications on some residents in our township as the road, our section, it's a very odd, the way Prospect Road goes, it kind of goes like this, and our township line goes in there. So we're in the township, we're out of the township, we're back in the township for literally, I don't know, 10 feet, 12 feet. So to the approach, near the approach of the bridge there. So they did get repair estimates for repairing the bridge, and it was like $250,000 around there. So the advertisement was going in the paper, and it'll be Conewaga, Mount Joy, and South Londonderry discussing this item at the building here that day.
And you said the repair to the bridge was $250,000, and where does the bridge, is it in our
Half
town?
Conewaga, half Mount Joy, no.
And the other bridge is in ours.
But we have residents along that road that
Gotcha.
it will.
Is it still their intention to abandon it?
That's, I believe, the latest talk.
So we want to hear from the residents, and then we want to hear from the emergency services providers to see how that bridge, what role it has in regional access, and then any response time. If that bridge goes offline, is that going to affect the emergency response time anywhere? I don't think so.
We can't cross it,
I
and it's
know.
too late.
Well, we have to go through that process.
And I missed the beginning of their, did you mention Lingle at all? I saw in your report you talked about Lingle.
No, because I,
I was a little concerned about
their
the,
date,
Um,
or their,
their-
oh geez, what are we doing over
it
here?
seems that there's
I
a
wish I was
misunderstanding. His understanding of the project is not that, is there a meeting that we'll be having at some point with them?
Yes, he also did not know that Palmyra Borough needed to be involved in that discussion as well. So I think it just kind of got thrown on this gentleman's lap, and now he's playing catch up with everything.
Is this somebody new through PennDOT? Or,
It's somebody new that just received the project. He's the project manager now. So I emailed her too. They gave me everything that we submitted for that grant in digital copy. I supplied to this gentleman, and we will be meeting with him to discuss the project further.
and one more question, was this who won the bid? This is the new?
No, this is PennDOT.
Okay.
I was just as flabbergasted as you are. I grabbed Scott and I said, we need to do a speakerphone conversation right now because the email I received that this guy, did I forward the email to you and Mike? I copied everybody that I could think of on this email and I was like, it was our understanding that what we had supplied for the grant was going to be completed on Lingle. And this has our MS4 tied up into it. I need to know what's going on because I need to look for other projects if this is not going to encompass everything that they told us. Because the email that he sent me just indicated that it was overlay and fixing some stormwater issues. And I was like, no, this is not just
That's
an
a huge
overlay.
problem.
I agree, but the budget goes from Palmyra Road to Cherry Street in Palmyra, and the budget is $5 million, which leads me to believe that there is a little more extensive work in our area that is going to be completed, but I was not comfortable with the conversation that this gentleman had with me, so if we are invited to have a meeting with him, I will be bringing Ritu with me, just so we are all on the same page as what we expect out of this project, and that this road cannot keep flooding and endangering the school, and it's just not practical for residents in the area. So we will be pushing our agenda, for lack of a better term, on this project.
Okay, will you CC me on that
Absolutely.
stuff?
Yep.
Because that's exactly what we feared would happen. I remember having this
Asking
conversation.
it 6 times in the meeting.
And
And we have written emails and about
that's-
dialogue with that, and
that's exactly what I said to Scott. I said, am I losing my marbles? I said, I
Hopefully this
thought
guy
we
just
had
doesn't-
this conversation, and
Hopefully
this
he just
guy
isn't up to speed on the
didn't know
project.
anything that we had submitted. Like, if you...
okay, well, I'll try to stay calm until
Yes.
we have a better indication as to what's going on. Okay, thank you.
So anyway, the last thing I have is that we have a new employee start on Monday. Her name is Nina Postetter, and she has replaced Samantha Smith in the office here. We were very lucky to have her, so that's all I have.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Jenna? Okay, moving on. Dawn, do you have a report to give us as zoning code enforcement officer?
I do. I issued 9 zoning permits for $1,294.28. 4 building permits, $3,620.90. 3 burn permits and 7 highway occupancy permits. So highway occupancy permit month. I had 10 complaints, 5 were grass and weeds, and 4 were stormwater. 1 was highway
Bless you.
complaint. Zoning hearing, I added the results of the July 3rd hearing in the Business of June report. But the Flight Path 1 received their special exception, and also the variance request was granted. The applicant for Mark Development for the Ford Road storage was granted for their special exception. And then there was a fence variance request in Carriage Park that was also granted. I have 2 new hearings set for August 21st. One, the property owner wants to put up a garage and it's going to encroach on the side yard setback. When I had gone out to look at it, I discovered that a previous permit, he added like a parking area which covered up his secondary septic. So that needed to be changed, plus he's over a stormwater, so you have to do a stormwater plan. So he has an engineer working on all of those things, but he'll be going to the zoning hearing board for variances. While he was doing a new stormwater plan, he added future, like he wants a swimming pool, things like that. So that's all on this also. And then I have one on East Patrick Road in the agricultural zone. It's a woman, it's an outbuilding, like a garage/barn type thing, and she wants to put craft meeting group business type thing in there. So that is going to the zoning hearing board also. for August 21st. The planning commission is going to review the first 3 sections of the changes that we made to the zoning ordinance that we're requesting be made to the zoning ordinance. They're going to start at 6 o'clock on Tuesday, July 16th in order to do that. And Frank and I are still meeting. We should soon be finished with all the reviews, like through the whole book, and then it'll just be patching the planning commission up with the changes that we've made.
Thank you. Patrick, do you have anything?
I do have one thing, it's listed later on in the agenda, the Carriage Park Phase 3 road dedication, so I can wait until then.
Okay.
I do have a brief executive session with respect to personnel and the collective bargaining agreement.
Okay. After.
Yes.
Okay.
And the only thing I'm looking at the zoning officer's report, the one variance application, the 2019-07, the craft class and business. The reference to use the property to its fullest extent, is that in the application or is that?
Yes.
It is?
That's
I would just, the
what
zoning, just make,
the
do you attend the
application-
zoning hearing board?
Yes,
Just make
that's
sure
what
they
the
take note of it.
applicant put. I just copied what the applicant wrote.
I just want to make sure someone's watching that and make sure that it's, that's all.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Chief, do you have a report to give us?
Yes, I do. Just some monthly statistics first. In June, officers patrolled about 4,000 miles in police cars. Did get some bicycle and foot patrol in, just under 3 hours combined. Officers reported on 259 incidents, made 4 criminal arrests, which included 1 DUI arrest, issued 38 traffic citations and 57 verbal warnings to motorists. The only other thing I have is, this is my last opportunity to talk about National Night Out before the event. Tuesday, August 6th, 5 to 8 p.m., so it's a change in time. The biggest change, though, is that it's at Palmyra Middle School, at the athletic fields and the football stadium, and also the fields adjacent to that. The entire event is outdoors this year. So please mark that on your calendar. It'll be, the content's very similar to previous years. We just changed locations because we're going to co-sponsoring with North Londonderry and Palmyra Borough Police. That's all I have.
Great. Thank
It's
you.
good to see other, the whole community getting involved.
We're excited about it.
I'm assuming it's not too late to contact if you need donations. They can contact someone if people want to donate anything, money, time,
Oh, money, sure.
for that event.
Check our website.
Burgers.
Well, we're
Not doing food this
We're
year.
not doing food.
Okay.
Some of the school clubs are going to use that as a fundraising means. They're gonna man the snack bar.
Okay.
But money's good, so you can go to our website, email Teresa Mack, tmack@southlondonderry.org, and arrange that. Or if you want to be at a table there, your group or business, contact her for that also.
So it's not too late to even get a table yet?
Nope.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have anything from Scott as far as Public Works?
I don't.
Okay. Moving on. Kendra from the library, do you have a report for us?
Yes, the library board met on June 18th and will meet again next Tuesday, July 16th. The steering committee will meet Thursday, July 18th. The summer learning program is entitled A Universe of Stories. They have 429 children registered in grades 2 through 9. The annual book sale starts this Saturday, the 13th, and runs until Thursday, the 18th, at the First Methodist Church in Palmyra. There are still time slots open for volunteers to help. I just signed up today, and they're in like 2-hour slots, if anybody is interested. Saturday, there will be what they call a preview from 7:30 in the morning until 9 in the morning. For $5, you can get 30 books of your choice. Then Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., the books and other things will be at regular prices. Monday and Tuesday, the book sale will be open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. And Wednesday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. with everything 50% off. Thursday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., bring your own bag. And you can bring, have you ever seen those IKEA bags? They're huge. You can bring your own bag, whatever bag you bring, everything is $5 to fill a bag. We have a new board member, Tracy Petrino, has joined us as of last month. The capital campaign is nearing the end of the silent phase, and potential individuals will be contacted starting in early August. And that's it.
Wonderful, thank you. Campbelltown Fire Company, have a report for us tonight?
For the month of June, we had 44 calls, 7 personnel per call. Our average response time is 4 minutes and 13 seconds. We assisted Palmyra once, Lawn Ambulance 18 times, Gretna twice, Hershey 4 times, South Londonderry Township Police 2 times. We had 1 building fire, 2 vehicle fires, 18 medical assists, 2 motor vehicle accidents with injuries, 2 without injuries, 2 power lines down, 4 public service, 1 dispatch and canceled, 4 AFAs, and assisted the police twice. And that's it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Lon, Jack, do you have?
So 98 EMS calls for the month, 13 fire, 3 fires, 2 EMS medical assist calls, 1 hazardous condition, 1 service call, and 6 good and 10. That's it.
Thank you. Palmyra Area Rec.
We're off until.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, forgot about that. Minutes, we do not have any. Historical Commission was canceled last night. Municipal Authority was also, is canceled.
May and July were canceled.
So June's minutes are not approved yet, so we don't have those. And Planning Commission, we just don't have those yet.
I almost had them
Sorry.
done, I just couldn't get them done.
Special orders, do either of you have anything?
I don't.
I do not.
Okay, so moving on to street light resolution revision. Whew. We discussed last time changing the one part which was on Palmyra Road from Horseshoe Pike to 176 Palmyra Road to delineate that. That was the only change to the resolution as it was approved last time.
Correct.
Okay. So do I have a motion to approve this resolution 12, 2019?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those, or any questions from anyone? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I was just wondering if we're gonna have to do that again come fall.
We are.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. We are up to Joshua Stout. He is looking for approval of a plan of a subdivision lot line, basically purchase some piece of land from your neighbor, moving a lot line. And it's had to go through the zoning hearing board and the planning commission to get to this point. So thank you for your patience with all of that. Frank, do you want to go over, there's
Sure.
3 waivers. The one that I have, I guess we could go one by one.
Sure.
And then when I have a question, I guess I'll go
Okay.
from there.
So, as you indicated, this is for face value, it's a pretty straightforward plan. It's basically taking approximately a 0.29 acre tract of land from, I guess, which is an old church, and then deeding it to Mr. Stout. There are 3 waivers, well, 1 deferment and 2 waivers. The deferment would be of section 4.06 I2 and 4.07 point B, streets and roads. The request is for a deferment of installation of widening curbs and sidewalks deferred along the frontage of Colebrook Road. The Township Planning Commission did review the waiver and they did recommend, or the deferment, and they did recommend approval of the deferment to the Board of Supervisors. So if you have any questions on that deferment.
That one was not the one I had a
Okay.
question on. So,
Okay.
do we want to approve them as we go? Would that be easiest? Or do we want to go through them all first?
Okay, I'll let you make that decision.
How many, there's just three?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
3.
I would just do them all at the same time,
Okay,
the waivers, and then you can do the plan separately.
okay.
Okay. The second is a waiver request, and that is of installation of concrete monuments along the tract boundary beyond those noted on the plan. Again, the Planning Commission did review this, and their recommendation was to support the waiver, but monuments be installed per the direction of the township engineer. So I consulted with our survey group to see where concrete monuments would make sense, and they recommended 2 additional concrete monuments be installed on the property.
Do you know where they recommended that? Because that was my question, because there seems to be already 3 that are noted on this plan.
If you, I'll just walk this way.
Yeah,
I can show you.
absolutely.
So along the rear property line, they are setting pins. So they recommend a concrete monument to be set at this location of the new property line. And they also recommend a concrete monument at this location only because there is an existing monument set here that's no longer representative of that corner. So they recommend having a monument here, which would give you that location, and then this location, and then this location, and there's one set here. So that would be able to easily replicate the survey in the field. This one, again, they recommended because there might be confusion because there's one located here, and unless they installed, Light Heigl installed that monument, they cannot take that monument out. That has to stay there.
Okay. Did you see where they, yeah, you got it.
So that was
Okay.
the recommendation of our survey group. Certainly, you know, I mean, if you think one additional monument would be fine, that's up to the board, if, how you want to proceed with that.
Okay.
And then moving on to the third waiver of existing features, because this is only a lot addition, to spend the time and effort, and the data that would be obtained by surveying 50 feet outside the property line doesn't really benefit the plan. The Planning Commission did review this waiver. This was actually requested at the meeting, and I did see that they did provide an updated waiver request letter, including waiver of section 4.04C, and the Planning Commission did recommend approval of that waiver.
4 point or 5 point?
Oh, 5.04C.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay, do either of you have questions or?
So on those monuments, that would leave everything that is to be set, then would be monuments. Is that correct?
No,
No, there's,
yeah, along the rear property line, it would be, the only one that would, it would be where the new property line meets, I guess that would be the rear property line. That was the only one where our survey group recommended a concrete monument in place of a pin to be set.
So then there's 2 other pins to be set in the rear.
Yes, yes.
So they're gonna set pins on top of the 2 concrete monuments then, yes?
No,
No.
No.
They're
No,
not
the-
gonna set this one and
Well,
then?
they'll set rebar here, 3/4 inch rebar
Right.
here,
Okay.
there.
over here.
Gotcha.
And then the monument.
And then the
on
monument
new
here,
property
and
line.
monument here. What is the benefit of that when there's already 3 concrete monuments surrounding these properties? Well, not surrounding, but over on the corner here.
sure, so the monuments, for the neighbors, they can find, you know, where the corners are for their property. From a surveying point of view, they're able to set up their instruments on top of a monument, which gives them direction either way. And then if there's another monument, they can shoot to that monument and get the right angles. Current day technology with surveying, you know, the monuments are not as important as they used to be. That's really a benefit for the property owners, so they know where the corners are.
Are you asking on monument versus rebar or just in general?
In general, only because I'm looking, like if we're trying to delineate where these property lines are, there's already concrete monuments on around these properties, so you'd think you'd be able to figure out where the lines are if you needed to. Was my only thought. I was just wondering what the benefit was to place two more.
Well, they have,
That's
to-
all.
I mean, they have to be
We
set.
did have this discussion at the planning
You
commission.
voted no. I saw.
I listened to it, yes. I
Uh.
listened to the planning commission meeting. Someone gave me the audio of it. So, I was just wondering what the benefit is, that's all, or if there is.
It's really the benefit of the property owners knowing a fixed point on the corner and then for resurveying the property.
But the monument in that instance is no different than the rebar. It's just the monument stays so they're protected.
That's right, yeah. The monument and the rebar, so they'll get the metal detector and they'll find the rebar and they'll find the corner. Now, the residents, most likely, the rebar is driven down into the ground, it's not sticking out. So the residents over time may not be able to find that corner unless they have a metal detector. But, I mean, it will be there, and it's very difficult to pull a monument out versus pulling a pin out.
Mhm.
And they're only setting the mag name on the front?
That's in the macadam.
They're
That's,
still only gonna set a mag name?
yeah, that's typically what they do in the macadam area.
Josh, Mr. Stout, did you have something you wanted to add?
I would like to just have pins. Plus, I mean, the only reason I know where the concrete monument is in my front yard is because I hit it with the mower. I can't tell you where any other one in my neighbor's yard are. They get covered with grass still, high grass, weeds, anything. And I know the monument in my front yard also has a piece of rebar down the middle. And if it has no benefit other than just for the property owner, why can't it be up to the property owner?
I don't have an answer for that besides what's in our zoning ordinance. Any other questions, comments?
The corner where the concrete monument is, and they recommend the second concrete monument because the other one is not.
It doesn't represent the corner.
Right. I guess my question is, why doesn't it represent the corner? Because of the change or because it was?
I don't know why it was set at the location, other than at some point in time, maybe the right-of-way lines have changed or something, and that affects the location of the monument. But who knows, years ago, it could be set like that because there might be a rock or something here, and there's an offset. I mean, it depends really on the site conditions too. They don't indicate unable to set monuments, so,
Right. I'm just.
yeah.
When somebody goes to survey their property, do they pull these plans? And they'll see that there's concrete monuments written on these plans, or how does that work?
Yeah, so if Mr. Stout, 20 years from now, would like to resurvey his property because he can't find the corners, then they would pull this plan, and the surveyors would go out and, try and find a corner or a monument. If they can't find a concrete monument, then they'll start looking for the rebar buried in the ground or some other feature that might be written up in the deed, like a nail in the tree or something like that as a starting point.
So unrelated to this, I mean, that's sort of unrelated to the plan and concrete monument question. Won't that concrete monument cause confusion anyway?
It's pretty, I mean, that's pretty standard practice today, the concrete monuments.
Right, but what I'm saying is if they're looking for a concrete monument first, won't extraneous
Concrete monuments?
concrete monument?
Well, I think they're gonna remove this one if that's what.
No,
No,
they
they
can't.
I thought if you said if they set
If
new.
Light Heigl set the original concrete monument, they can remove the monument.
Yeah.
But if some other surveyor set that monument, like Heigl cannot remove that monument.
Well, the nice part, if you can locate the plans, if he wants to survey in 20 years, it's much cheaper for the homeowner if they can find it. If they can find a point or two, they know the coordinates, they take off from there. If you can't, they may start miles down the road with known coordinates, and then they work their way in.
But I see your question though. How are they gonna know, if we put another one here, how are they gonna know which one it is?
That's why
Well, they'll have
they're licensed.
Yeah, they'll have the plan.
Okay,
Yeah, they'll-
wasn't the person that put in the monument that's in the wrong place licensed?
You see this stuff all the time. I mean, that could have been
I guess.
Johnny homeowner pounding his pin in, and
Right.
you see
Poor
it
guy.
all the time.
Remember, we're talking about the plan, but when and if they do get the approval for the lot line adjustment, there's gonna be a new deed with a new legal description. And that legal description is gonna describe this pin to that, it'll describe the coordinates to a certain extent in the deed
Right.
that they'll have at least recorded at the courthouse.
So my follow-up was coming out of the planning commission meeting that they had a recommendation of approval subject to the engineer, the township engineer, looking at this. Now, the ordinance would call for monuments at all corners and change in lot lines. We don't recommend that. We just recommend the 2 additional ones if you feel that's necessary, or if you feel the existing monuments out there are sufficient. I can tell you if our surveyor thought the existing monuments were sufficient, I would have said that in our discussion. He recommends 2 additional monuments. However, in his opinion, they're not needed. I would have brought that back to the board.
But that's not what he said.
That's not what he said.
Yes,
He
he said
recommends the 2
2.
monuments, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, any other questions on these waivers and deferment? Do I have a motion on the first deferment of streets and roads?
I make a motion, we approve the first deferment as listed.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have any questions from anyone? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Moving on to the survey monuments, do I have a motion for that?
I make a motion, we approve 4.23, the survey monuments as listed and as recommended by the township engineer.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Do I have any questions? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Moving on to existing features. Do I have a motion for that? That is a waiver, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I make a motion, we approve the waiver 504C existing features.
Do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
And any questions on that one? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then we just need to approve this plan, correct, Patrick?
Yeah, it would be, if the board wanted to consider approving the plan, it would be conditional upon the applicant complying with all the requirements set forth in the July 9th, 2019 review letter from Route 2. The only thing if you want to proceed with that motion, I just have a clarification on one of the waivers, that's all, afterwards.
Okay, do I have a motion to that extent from someone?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, do you want to add your clarification now?
No, it's not with,
Okay, do I have any questions in regard to approving this plan? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
the deferment for the roadway improvements, usually it's tied to a building permit, but I suspect, given the conversations, it's going to be deferred into the future until otherwise determined by the township, right?
That's my-
That's how I'm taking it.
That's how I'm.
Yeah,
Okay, that's all.
Don't get me started on the.
I know. No, I just need to confirm. That's all.
okay. So with that being said, I think we're all done with your property. I think. So that's it. Do you have any questions?
So assuming I am putting in concrete monuments, I guess, correct?
Yes, 2 of them.
So, from what, at the last board I was at,
Yes.
I was told those are like $400 a piece. So given that's true, can I just go get a bag of concrete from Lowe's?
I have no idea what, I
That's
know,
between you and your surveyor at this point. I mean,
So
he's,
if they're okay with it, and they mark it out around there when he's there,
No, there was actually they actually make the concrete monument to be set. You know, some people get a coffee can and they pour concrete in it, right, to try and work the corners, but a concrete monument is actually, you know, the material and the size, I believe, is spelled out in the ordinance that you have to use. And typically, your surveyor probably has a bunch of them in the shed, in their shed, ready to be used.
so otherwise, it's all clear, and I'm good.
yes.
Good.
You have to still finish out the rest of the notes that were on what I sent you.
Okay.
So, just to finish the recording of the plan.
Oh, right.
Yeah, you're gonna get a written correspondence probably from Jenna in the next week or so, just documenting the motion and the action the board just took. And in it, it'll reference the review letter from the engineer and the conditional approval of the waivers that you got tonight, just clarifying what needs to be done. And if, I believe the zoning officer was indicating if there's any revisions needed to the actual plan to be recorded, you'll have to do that before it gets recorded.
All right.
Okay?
Yep. Sounds good.
Thank you. All right, now, I lost track of where I was here. Okay, moving on to Carriage Park Phase 3 road dedication. Jenna, do you want to talk about this, or Patrick,
Well-
do you want to?
We talked about it briefly at your last meeting. There were some outstanding items that the developer needed to comply with. Between then and now, it turns out that at least one of the requirements, there's some ongoing discussions and disagreement as to whether or not the size of the riprap that was put in at the one outfall for the stormwater is acceptable. So I'll be honest with you, what's going to be pending before you at some point in time is your acceptance resolutions, which I have tonight, to accept Bridle, to accept Fox, and to accept the open space. I'm not aware of anything from the township's point of view that's pressing you to act on that tonight. If there's these ongoing conversations, communications, disagreements as to what was done and whether or not it's acceptable, and if you want to give the staff more time to try and figure out if it's acceptable or if there's an easier solution, if the developer's amenable to one of those solutions, I'm not aware of anything pressing for you to act on this tonight. But that's up to the board. I have the acceptance resolutions here this evening. There is still the outstanding item is the riprap at that one outfall. And there's also more of a minor hiccup is normally, if you recall, I require when there's open space or roads being dedicated to township, I typically require title insurance to be provided. And one of the changes or one of the things that we agreed to was that we weren't going to require that, but we still need like an attorney's opinion indicating that he's providing you good and clean title to this property, and that's also been a hiccup in one of the more recent communications. So again, if the board's comfortable, I have it here tonight. I'm telling you, I'm not aware of anything that's pushing you to act on this tonight.
Do either of you have a strong opinion besides this whole development was a nightmare from the get-go that I've known
I
about?
can't offer an opinion on I mean, I have to defer to you on as far as the title insurance, but I
Right.
thought that was something that he agreed to provide. I mean, I know he didn't agree to the insurance, I thought it was agreed that he would provide an attorney's opinion.
Well, he agreed to provide us deeds of dedication to the satisfaction of the township. And we agreed that the title insurance we weren't going to require for this particular one, but you still need an opinion of title from someone indicating that it's clean. I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't, express that to you, because, I mean, you run the risk of, if there's tax liabilities on those properties or any type of liens. Do I anticipate that? Am I worried about that with respect to the roads? Not really, because they're public roads. The open space, that's a different issue. I would be hesitant at this point before receiving something from the current owner indicating that the title is clean. I mean, we could ultimately do a title search before we accept dedication, but before we expend any money, I would suggest we continue to try and work with the developer and request that, you know, a reasonable solution be met. But the riprap, I mean, I think I forwarded council kind of some photos that were taken and some communications between some of the staff. I don't know if you have any questions or comments for me. I'm a layman when it comes to rock, but I think riprap, I don't
If we
think.
put your two brains together, we might be able to figure out a solution to
You
this.
saying I got rocks in my head?
Well, you know rock.
You know rock, you do know rock.
You know rock, that's
So-
all I'm saying.
It's, the riprap's not worth fighting about. I mean,
Okay.
I said the same thing.
yeah, it's just, the staff will spend far more time fighting with them about it than it will be just to go out there and.
And there's other places where it was not put in, but that was not on the list.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to,
We'll be out there with rock.
we're gonna have to be out there doing that anyway.
So, I mean, I have no strong opinion or act on it tonight, but, I mean, I'll defer wholeheartedly to you on the.
I mean, I do think I think we should get something that says that title is,
Okay. All right, well, I
That's
think
my-
I'm getting, I have not heard from Faith, but I'm getting the gist that maybe the riprap is one that maybe we can.
Yeah,
yeah, fine, right.
Okay,
Yeah.
understood. I understand.
our chances of getting this title,
Well, let me have the conversation and see where it
Okay.
goes.
I prefer to just be done
I-
with that
Yeah,
completely.
I'm with
I'm
you,
so
but I
over
think
it.
the title thing is,
The other thing is, how much are we spending in attorney's fees, solicitors' fees?
Well,
How
remember,
much
this
is a title
this,
insurance policy,
this should still,
$1,100 versus?
this still should be reimbursable under the MPC.
But
It
we're
should be,
gonna
there's a
fight
lot
to
of
get
other
that,
things
yeah.
that he's not giving us the maintenance bond either, that is also spelled out in the MPC. Why is he allowed to skip certain things and pick what he wants to do and what, I just wanna get rid of this guy. I just wanna be done with him.
Well, that was one of the other items, I don't know if I've heard back on that yet.
No, because they keep growing, and he said, I'm not paying anything from this day on. And we have, I don't even know how many more thousands of dollars of engineering and solicitor fees that he's not paying. We've already given him this number like 4
For that-
times, so I feel like it's a game to him at this point.
for those that have no idea what we're talking about. Wait, this development has been problematic in that there was no,
There were several things that were not carried out correctly.
right. Including we don't have
Previous to
financial.
anybody sitting here, by the
Previous
way.
to anybody sitting here, we don't have we don't have a lot of leverage with this particular development, let's just say that, financially,
We're very happy the roads got paved though.
yes.
I'm sure the residents are.
So I think I'm understanding where the board's coming from. The question is, do you want to act on the resolutions tonight, conditional upon the title, or do you want to just wait? Again, I don't.
If you
know
think
that-
that's a good leverage, like
you
if we
know,
have them approved, give
I-
us this title thing.
I like it's conditional upon,
Yeah,
That way we can tell them we're done.
we're done. Give us this, we're done.
Okay.
So,
With the other items that were in that, meaning the maintenance agreement and letter of credit tied to that maintenance agreement. Not the riprap, I'm not talking about the riprap, but there's still a maintenance agreement that's required, and he's previously agreed to that, and he actually signed, it's just a letter of credit that we're waiting for, which he has a draft of.
okay.
I thought the last correspondence, he said he's, I don't know how we can work around it.
Yeah, you're not gonna bend on that. I
Okay.
would recommend bending on that.
So do I have a motion then to approve?
I make a motion that
Well,
we,
if that's the direction we're going.
yeah, let's write this up.
Patrick,
make
get it
sure
right
we're
for
good.
us.
So, in order for the township to accept dedication of public roads and open space, it's conditional upon approving acceptance resolutions. So before you, I don't know what the last resolution is.
13 you're on right now,
So it would be,
13-2019.
so what would be Resolution number 13-2019 would be the acceptance of deed of dedication for Bridle Avenue, with the understanding that the board's motion to approve resolution number 13-2019 would be conditional upon the applicant complying with the remaining items set forth in the previously agreed upon resolution, with the exception of the riprap, and also conditional upon the applicant or the developer providing acceptable proof of clean title for the property being dedicated.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions from anyone on that? Yes, Jane?
I just have a question on the property, the open area that's called natural area. There's a sign on one side, and there's a sign on Woodlawn, there's a sign in back of the first property on Bridle. But how far does that natural area extend? Can I, because the resident at the corner of Bridle and Woodlawn, I guess he mows the strip behind his new fence. Now, can I walk from there to the fire company because that's natural area? Where does the natural area actually end? Because it's kind of, when I walk back there, somebody's mowing a path that takes you down behind the brass rail. And what I want to know is, how far does the natural area go from Woodlawn, and how far down Bridle does it go? Because I think there's 3 properties, and then I saw one that said private property. And what does private property mean if it's an open space?
Well, part of that is Campbelltown Fire Company's property on the other side of that, but there is, if you're looking at the signs on Bridle and Woodlawn where they began, where the mowing starts, we mow a 10-foot swath from the property owner's line to the natural area. That goes back between 2, 3, 4 properties, and then there's a retention area
That's private.
that's privately owned. So it kind of goes behind that a
It
little bit.
goes down,
So we
That's-
only marked the areas right behind residents' properties that they know don't mow past this line. So once it hits that retention area, there's no other, natural area signs listed.
so can you walk through that mowed path? I mean, does that belong to people off of 322?
I'm not sure what you'll have to come in one day and we'll
Okay.
talk about it.
I
Yeah.
can scan it for you, I just need to get the email again.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I missed it. Was there a vote?
There was a motion and a second.
Bill.
Any questions about Bridle?
Okay.
No? All those in favor? Aye.
Okay, and then the additional acceptance of deed of dedication would be for Fox Road, and it would be, I'm assuming, 14-2019?
Right.
And that motion, if the board were to proceed, would similarly be conditional upon the developer complying with the remaining conditions of that previously agreed to resolution, with the acceptance of the riprap, and further providing proof that the title is clean for the property to be dedicated.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions about that? All those in favor? Aye.
And then finally, it would be resolution 15-2019, and that would be the acceptance resolution for the deed of dedication for the open space associated with Phase 3 of Carriage Park subdivision. And that would also be similarly conditional upon the applicant complying with the remaining conditions of the previously agreed upon resolution, with the acceptance of the riprap, and also providing the township with appropriate proof of clean title for the property.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions about that? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. And, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I thought that was the last one.
That is the last one, but part of that was the maintenance agreement for Bridle Avenue and Fox Road. And that was part of the previously agreed upon resolution, one of the conditions that's outstanding. So just a motion authorizing chairperson, yes, authorizing the chairperson to execute this once everything is finalized.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions about that? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. That's it. All right. Thank you, Patrick. Anything else about Carriage Park? All right. So moving on to new business. We are looking at a quote here from CM High for changing the existing light because it has been hit several times. So we're moving it back, correct?
That's correct, yes. We
And-
received a quote from CMI. This came about as a tractor trailer clipped the sign and caused damage that cannot be repaired at this point. So I have this quote in with the insurance company. We should be expecting repayment of the quote, all except I think we have $1,000 deductible to take care of that. So I have it in with the insurance company, they're working on it. We provided photos and accident reports, so we should be in good standing. So initially, the $28,900 will come out of the general account, but it'll be refunded once the insurance company pays that amount.
And they're okay with the additional length? I thought we had to pay that.
Well, there was, I'm asking for the total of this.
Okay.
The total amount that'll be refunded by the insurance company, I believe is like $1,400 more for the extension of the pole. I can look it up really quick.
So we'll have the $1,000 deductible plus
Plus the.
1,400.
But
Okay.
the 1,400 would fall under maintenance,
Right,
so that would be budgeted.
yeah. And that's just us moving the
Yep.
post back and then the other thing, so yes.
Okay. Perfect. Do I have a motion to approve
Did you
this?
wanna, the only thing I asked Jenna before the meeting was whether or not CMI's on co-stars or how we got the proposal. Just, if you're gonna proceed with the motion, just make it conditional upon confirming with Scott probably, right? That's all.
Okay.
The other thing I see, Jenna, is they have excluded prevailing wage, but it's over 25,000.
Where do you see that?
It says our bid does not include the following list of items prevailing wages.
So I sent Mike a text message earlier if CM High was co-star, and he responded back. He said basically when a pole is damaged, everyone considers it maintenance and a public safety concern and utilizes their maintenance contractor. So I don't know.
Oh, CMI's the maintenance contract?
Yeah, so I'm not, so I guess I'm not sure if this
That
wasn't
would
really
come
put
into
out the.
Okay, understood. If they're your maintenance contract, I mean, that's a different story.
They are.
Okay, that's fine.
But
And, well, the prevailing wage, I believe, with respect to maintenance, if it's maintenance and not,
New
yeah,
light, new.
there is specific case law on prevailing wage. Let me, I mean, if you wanna, if you feel more comfortable, make it conditional on me confirming that prevailing wage is not required.
well, my
for this
concern,
contract.
so my concern is this, if we were paying this out of the contract and it come back later, you know, the township didn't pay the money to begin with, so we would have to pay it later, I'd be fine with that. But here, if we miss the opportunity for the insurance company to pay it, we're not gonna get it back.
So if you do it conditionally for.
So in other words, if we pay this 28,000 now.
I can find this answer out tomorrow morning.
And a year later,
Yeah.
comes back and CMI says, I excluded it and we got audited, you know, we weren't paid.
I mean, is this truly, so maintenance work, I mean, I know maintenance work is excluded from Pennsylvania prevailing wage, but
What sound, I can confirm tomorrow morning with a quick lookup, but,
because there
I'm
might
fine.
be, right, you're thinking there might be case law on what is and isn't.
Yeah, like I said, my concern is this is our only opportunity to get
Yeah.
reimbursed for it, so we wanna make sure that
Yeah, I agree. We want to make sure that it's,
we're getting reimbursed for what the cost is. So, I mean, I'll make the motion conditional upon, confirming that the prevailing wages don't apply and that they are or you still want to, I guess I'll make my motion conditional on prevailing wages and that we do not have to go through the bidding process. Patrick's recommendations.
gotcha.
Do I have a second?
second.
Do I have any questions about this? Yes. Mark?
It may or may not go through the insurance company, but I think I would, approach the insurance about paying the extra $1,400 to lengthen that pole to keep it from happening again, and the insurance company having to pay out several more claims down the road.
Yeah, I don't disagree
It
with it.
wasn't the length of the pole, it was the position that the pole was in, we're moving it back, so there was, items in the quote that we have to take, but it had nothing to do with the length of the pole.
Okay, I thought you said the
Yeah.
length, because maybe
That's
they
my
would assist
mistake. I
with
thought
the
that
moving
was what it
back. Because if it
Yeah.
stays where it is, you're eventually gonna have another claim.
Where did the $1,400 number come from? Because it's a lump sum contract. Did CM provide it?
That was what Jenna was trying to look up a minute ago.
I mean, right, we would submit the whole thing to the insurance company
Well, that's why I'm curious where
anyway.
We
where
already
that-
have, yeah.
Okay.
Or we could provide
I
you
remember
one.
our last discussion being the extension of the pole because we're moving it back.
Right.
But
Yeah,
I
but
could
we're
be wrong,
moving
that
it back so it doesn't get hit again, which I think is a good point. Like, we're moving it back so it doesn't get hit, which theoretically would save them money. So I think it's worth asking the question. Or just submitting it.
well, do we want to?
I don't have any intention of amending it. We can ask, we'll submit it. We've
Yeah,
been told no
submit it.
before.
Yeah, that's the worst that happens. We say no, or they say no. Okay, so moving with our motion in the second, all those in favor? Aye. And Jenna, will you just look into seeing if the 1,400 is going to be covered or?
Okay.
And I'll reach out to Jenna tomorrow, mid-morning probably, and answer any other stuff.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, moving on to old business. Market Street paving. You had a discussion
Yes, we
with the
met-
water company?
Scott and I met with Eversole Excavating, PA American Water, two gentlemen, Paul and, oh my goodness, why is his
Jeff.
name? What's that?
Jeff?
Yeah, Paul and Jeff from Eversoles and Angie from PA American Water. If you remember the last regular meeting, I asked for the board to approve a quote that we had received for bid on Market Street, which went from Palmyra Road all the way to almost in front of the township building, to repave, no, flip it around.
No, it's from 322
It was from
to,
322 to our township building, where PA American Water was gonna pick up the rest because of the restoration project that they were doing with their connections in our street. Scott and I looked at it and I said, isn't that part, the old township building in front of there, worse than what we have going on in the rest of, generally in the cartway in the middle of the road where people drive is worse down the other area. So I asked him to contact Eversole and PA American Water and see if they could just move the scope of work up to that worst part, cover it. And they said that there was some restoration work on the patches in the road down on the other end of Market that they were originally going to take care of. Said they would have no problem shifting the scope of work, but that they still need to complete the restoration on that. So they gave a quote, Jeff Eversole, I think I put a copy of it on
Yes.
your, would complete the restoration of those, so it would be a smooth road. They will pave the other portion of Market as we're asking them to do, and just be done with that project. It saves the township $33,000 or almost $48,000 when you take out the bid for the restoration. Moving it, it's not a completely repaved road, but it's better than
50,
paying that
48,000.
amount to restore a road that has generally light traffic on it.
Unless, of course, a pole goes down somewhere. or
Right.
something.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, even still, because they had that part closed off too, but you couldn't turn in there.
Yes.
So I think they traveled that day.
Well, it did for a while because they were coming down my alley looking to get down further. So, yeah, did for a while, but.
So this just seemed like a good compromise.
So this bid is $3,986.60 to finish off that section. Do you have questions, Jack?
Still not sure that we're getting, the township's getting a good deal here, but I think the water company is too.
By not finishing what they messed up?
Well, so they're not gonna do,
What they were gonna do.
They don't have to, they just have to mill the portion of Market that's open right now. They don't have to seal it like they would have if they were doing the other portion of the road.
So they're moving the mill and overlay from here to there, right?
Yes,
Did we check the square yardage of this versus that?
we did. And they're actually coming a lot further than what initially, they're going to connect right after the township building. If you make a right,
Yeah.
there's a patch across the road. They're actually gonna extend to that point and a little bit beyond there.
And they're gonna shorten it up on that end?
And they're gonna shorten it up on the 322 end because they can't be in PennDOT's right away. So they did mark the road if you wanna take a peek at it. The marking in front of the township building is actually on the other side of the patch. They're gonna do it on the right side of the patch, so they will be connecting that patch or going over that patch, so they will not have to restore that one.
Okay. It's a good deal for us, it's just pretty.
The whole thing has been
Pretty
so
sure they're getting
frustrating
a good
with
deal,
why
too.
they chose to, I don't know why they chose to overlay this and not the rest of it is beyond me, but
I think we should definitely, like we said before, add that to our list of amendments for the ordinance to, to require the same thing that PennDOT does, that they
Okay.
overlay it.
Is that in the zoning ordinance? Where is that?
It's not now, I mean, PennDOT requires.
But that's where
it,
it would be placed?
I
mean, I would think you need to.
I didn't see anything. The only thing, we have specific requirements on the trench restoration, but we
Yeah.
don't have requirements for them to overlay the entire road.
In the,
You could
in the
put that
right
in
of way
the-
ordinance, is that right?
Are you talking about when someone comes in and disturbs your road, whether it be for a private developer or a public
Public
entity,
utility.
that they repave or reconstruct the road for a certain distance?
It's usually half lane, like they don't, PennDOT doesn't want you doing 30 service trenches out on the 322 that boom, 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 boom.
Right. Well, for a private entity, that's clearly something we can plug into the saldo, if it's not in there already.
Yeah, it should be added. It's, Scott and I went over it and he said, no, there's really nothing in our ordinance that requires them to do anything other than, and there's very specific language on the depth of the rock that they have to put in once they disturb our roads and how they have to restore it. We have to have somebody standing there watching them to make sure it's at a correct depth and.
Adding that in the saldo though, would that,
And so I was,
That
would only
wouldn't
be
raise
triggered-
this,
That
that
would
wouldn't-
only, no, that's why I said it would be for like a private,
Future.
development there. So the only thing
Yeah,
that would
but
trigger that would be
utilities.
land development. Utility, you could plug something like a right-of-way,
have
restoration
right-of-way.
provision in the zoning. Well, unless you have a standalone, but you could plug it into zoning, if you don't already.
Jenna
Sounds
looked and
like you-
didn't
sounds like-
find
Scott
anything?
and I, he did not know anything, and he's been here for 30 some odd years. I think he
Okay.
would have known
Well, we
something.
can-
And I looked,
Right
I
away
searched through all
restoration.
of the
Yeah, I
ordinances
like that.
online and, or not online, but on our scan copy. I could
Is
find-
that something that Patrick, we could add before we approve the codification? Where's the codification at?
right.
It would be
Yeah.
easiest to add it wherever we have the trench restoration, because you could simply add a note in there if there's X amount of disturbance, or, that it's half lane overlay versus.
What is that in, the trends that you were speaking of before? What,
It's I think it's a standalone
Standalone.
ordinance.
I think it's ordinance 43.
Yeah, it's an old one, but it does state that somebody has to stand there and watch them put the rocks.
so can we add that on there, Patrick, before
Yeah.
the codification?
Well,
Or is that, do you have to advertise it itself?
something like that. I mean, when you do your codification,
Substantial change.
when you do your codification, you can do more than just grammatical changes. But it would be for already existing ordinances, like if you want to amend, like a lot of things have changed with respect to the sewage enforcement ordinance. So if you wanted to make changes with respect to that ordinance, you could in the codification. Adopting a brand new chapter or brand new provision addressing right-of-way restoration, I would not recommend that. I would do that as a separate standalone ordinance adoption. Now, there's nothing preventing you from moving forward with it now. I mean, the way your codification is going to work is everything in the codification is going to be up to whatever date. I forget what the date is that's set. And then ordinances that you adopted after that date will just slowly be supplemented into the codification once you adopt it. So there's nothing preventing you from moving forward with this ordinance now, but should you add a brand new chapter provision to address this in the codification, I would not.
So if we did something like that, when would it start?
As
In
soon
other
as we
words-
adopt
As soon as
the,
you adopt it.
Future project, yeah, after the date of that adoption.
whatever we adopt the ordinance.
Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna go back and get someone who just dug up the road.
Generally, PA American Water, UGI contact us and ask us for our 5-year paving schedule. And then they'll ask us again, what are we, like Angie asked, what do we have on tap for next year, no pun intended, but wanted to know what we have for next year. So they do try to work with,
Right, they're not
Our
gonna try to,
schedule.
they're not gonna, or they're not going to want to come in and tear up a brand new
Right.
paved road. and-
Right.
I've seen it.
Well, yes, so, okay, so where are we at? Do we have a motion in a second? Or are we just, well, no, I asked you for questions.
The only other question is the funding, where's the funding?
it would come out of the 60,000, well, whatever's left of the $60,000 that we had in there. Same
Oh,
place,
liquid
or it could
fuels.
come out of the liquid fuels too. I suggest just taking it out of the general fund though. So, I don't know what other hoops we have to do for liquid fuels, but it's not over their threshold.
Okay. Motion approved.
Second.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Do we want to consider an ordinance like that?
Yeah, I think we wanna,
I mean, if we could, it's one of those things, if we could say that to add this, you know, with another. I don't know.
Another
Yeah.
ordinance
I don't
when
think
it-
it's a hot topic, we don't have too much of that work going on at the moment, but
Will you keep
No,
a tab
it's a
on that
good
somewhere,
idea.
Jenna? Okay, thank you. All right, so moving on to the emergency call response township employees. This was the mutual aid agreement, am I saying that right, Jenna? That we sent to the fire company, to the fire board.
Not the mutual aid, this
No.
is
It's
the
the-
emergency volunteer employee, township employee volunteers for the fire department.
Yes, but what was the title on it? Because I don't have it in front of me.
Emergency call response,
just have that.
I did have
I literally just did it.
I actually think.
I do not have it.
So I put a draft together initially, and then it was forwarded, I think, to the fire board or fire department.
Yes.
And I set it up
that's why I
as,
talked under desk.
That's
There it
okay.
is.
Memorandum of understanding, that's what I was trying to get at.
well,
Sorry.
there's two.
Yes,
There's the MOU, the memorandum of understanding agreement would be between the township and the fire department, or whichever fire department we're talking about. And then there would be what I prepared as a draft South Londonderry Township policy. But I think when we talked about it, you don't really have policies, so you could do it as a resolution. I haven't touched it since you previously looked at it and sent it on to the fire, because I didn't want to start changing things before.
yes.
But you could easily set this up as a resolution if need be.
So when I was at the fire board meeting last week, the only two things that were brought up, the people that were there at the meeting were all for these two the policy and the memorandum of understanding. But there were two questions or comments that they wanted to see provided for in there. One was if the board would consider putting language in there that if it's a cardiac arrest in the area, that they would be able to respond, because it says that they are not allowed to may respond to any fire or other emergency except for medical calls. So that was a recommendation from the fire board asking if a cardiac arrest would be considered. The other thing that was asked to be considered was to have more language in there to define when the call is complete. Is the call complete when the trucks are back in service or when the fire is done? Just to be more clear on that. Those were the two recommendations at the fire board.
Jack, when we discussed this, didn't you say, I mean, one of the things that you were concerned about was people just, I mean, they should be back here when they, as soon as
that was the
possible.
problem, that was what created the problem.
In the
Years
first-
back, there was an issue with that, you know, they weren't returning promptly, and my feeling still remains the same. It's, you know, the chief's job to release the firefighter when, you know, he deems necessary. So, I was just looking where the language says about when the call is over.
It just says when the call is completed
In the policy part.
and the policy.
The responding employee shall return to work as soon as the call is completed.
So after every call, the chief relieves, I mean, how would we clarify that, I guess, is my question.
How do you normally run a call? I mean, if you have 20 guys there and you don't need all 20 of them there, would you?
You hear what she said?
Is there a possibility?
20 guys.
Well, we usually look at the other guy that's sitting across from you in the seat and say, well, who's gonna clean
And,
up? No.
yeah. Yep. If you
Usually,
were to
I mean,
have a
when we-
plethora of people,
When we get back, sometimes there's guys like, hey, you know, do you care? I gotta get back to work, and you know, everybody's usually like, yeah, no problem. You have those guys that always conveniently so, but I don't, you know, I'm fine with them staying until, you know,
Truck's back in
Back in
service.
service.
yes.
And I think our chief said at the meeting that, you know, if we come back and there's enough guys there, they'll release the township because, you know, he doesn't want them abusing it because this is something we can really use.
Any other questions about this?
I guess the medical, like, you mentioned the medical thing.
Cardiac arrest.
I know, but, okay.
I mean, Campbelltown runs a QRS service,
Okay.
so we don't, but fire department is pretty common to be dispatched with cardiac arrest. It's like,
Okay.
I'm not an EMT, but I've done CPR aplenty, and you know,
Yeah.
now they want you doing CPR for 20 minutes sometimes. It's work. Like, it is a lot, you know, it is a lot of work given CPR, so you need, you know, manpower. So I have no issues with that, you know, adding that. I just don't want, I just don't think that the township should be covering these guys to be no offense to anybody at the nursing home, but to be the transport service at the nursing home. I mean,
Right,
it's,
I got it.
Yes.
Now, I am a volunteer, so my question is, what's the difference between their volunteering and me volunteering? It's a volunteer, we don't get paid. We've never been paid for calls. Nobody gets paid to run calls. So I don't understand the difference between two guys to get paid to run calls at a volunteer service. You sign up, when you sign the paper to join the company, you are signing to be a volunteer, not a paid firefighter.
No one's paying, they're not paying them to be a firefighter.
But
Let's
they're-
just be very clear.
But they're
The
getting
township
paid
is
to run
not
a
paying
call.
anyone to fight fires.
But
It's
to run
still,
a
they're
call.
still volunteers of the fire department.
But they don't have, they're not clocking out, I thought.
This would be a policy of the township to continue to allow them to continue to receive their pay in the event that they needed to receive or needed to respond to a fire call.
Okay. That was just that was my question.
so my response would be, you know, you're saying what makes you any different, so that would be between you and your employer.
Well, I guess I worded it wrong, I was just.
No, I understand what you're asking, so I look at it as, I'm a taxpayer, everybody's a taxpayer, so the township is required to provide fire protection for the residents. And this is a very small token, you know, that we as residents would have to pay for anyhow. This is still a cheaper option, so if this is a little bump that, you know, drags us all on a little longer for the volunteer service versus the paid service, I'm in support of it. I understand your view and your opinion, and I know it creates some, you know, maybe some differences among those, but, I mean, we have individuals that run with us that have private employers that they allow them.
But I was gonna say.
That was gonna be my next
I was gonna say,
question.
there are private employers that do allow for this and that do this, and I think.
Yeah, my employer allows me to leave, maybe I'm not paid, I'm not asking to be paid either, I was just asking what's the difference? When you sign up, you're a volunteer, I know the guys pushed for it some too, because they don't wanna lose pay, nobody wants to lose pay in today's day and age. But,
Yeah, but let's be clear. When and if an employee leaves to respond to a fire call, they're leaving in their capacity as a volunteer fire member. They're not leaving as an employee or an active employee at that point in time. And the township is not paying them to respond to fire calls or to be a volunteer fire department, or fire member.
now is there set like where they can be to respond to a call, is that all worded?
Yes, that's put in here. Mhm. There's certain restrictions. You can't be going out of the township to respond to a call.
It's limited to the first due area.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. speak the language. I am obviously not a fire person.
But I think too, it's important to point out, like Patrick said, we're not paying anybody to be a firefighter, and there's a lot of companies that do have a similar policy. So that don't
Private
just.
employers.
Private employers that have similar policies that allow for this.
My concern was they're not in Colebrook just running in to sign the book. You know what I mean? Just, oh, we can't make the truck, but we're gonna go sign the book.
So there was some conversation about, you know, how many rules and, you know, I don't know if you know or not, but like, you know, North Londonderry has a policy that's, you know, much more detailed. And I gave a lot of input, obviously, and I said, listen, like, this is like the, you know, basic rules, this is the honor system, like, we expect, you know, Barry as the chief to police it, that's his job, that's what he was elected to do by the company. So it's kind of like, I look at it as kind of like, you know, you abuse it, lose it, like,
Yeah.
I didn't want to get a whole list of rules in here that like, well, you know, was this, you know, like, it's no different than, you know, than any others, like, any other, you know, once he decides to respond, you know, he's on the fire company's rule book.
And their insurance, right? And we had a discussion about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so it's not,
So, moving forward, do we want to add that language, or are we all in agreement to add that language in, the cardiac arrest? And
I'm fine with that.
Well, I have the board was okay with allowing for cardiac arrest, but no other medical calls. And
Yes.
that, I didn't get, I don't know if I know, how did you want to clarify the completion of the call?
I don't think we need, I personally.
You think it's
don't
okay
we
as
need
written?
to. I'm fine with that. I mean, if it becomes an issue that they're hanging out for, you know, every call cleanup takes 4 hours or something, what, you know, we have to revisit that. I'm not interested in bogging down it.
I keep thinking of the burn ordinance, because then you don't know whether you can burn or not. You have to, like, the fire call, you don't know whether you can attend or not.
He's at the, you know, he's under the direction of the
So.
chief at that point.
Okay. All
I
right.
mean, I'm only one, you know, I'm only 33 and a third, so.
No, I'm fine with it, and I don't know.
One thing to keep in mind, in the MOU, it's clear that if the fire company or the member of the fire department is abusing it or not doing this properly, you can terminate it. And the township can, you know, stop allowing this at any point in time as well, if it's abused.
Right. Okay, so do you want to add the language in there, and then we'll approve it next meeting?
Sure, and I think when we previously discussed this, like I said, you don't have actual policies of the township, so we can
No.
form it, I can put in a form for resolution. Okay.
Yeah, I think that would make the most sense.
Early 16 years from
Are you guys all okay with that?
Yeah, I am.
You're all right with that, Jack?
now. It'll be a standalone.
Do you want us to have a motion to that effect, or are we all on the same
I
page?
think we're gonna do it the next
Okay.
meeting, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, moving on to fire study update. I didn't have anything from John. Did you have anything?
I
John?
don't, I just keep it on there just to.
Yep, so we don't lose our spot. HVAC upgrade?
Just received, information, or the balance report from the company that did it today. James Miller from Fadivia is still working with the contractors to try to get this squared away. I don't know that the humidity in the building will ever be resolved. There is no dehumidification system on our system at all. So we may want to look at something like that. I know the police side is having issues with severe humidity because their system is different than ours. Theirs pumps fresh air in constantly because of the pepper spray issue. If somebody sprayed, they don't want it recirculating in there, they want it to go right out. So
It's spring.
the courthouse.
So even after the balancing, you guys are still having issues?
Yeah, the other day, papers coming out of the copier were all curled up. And they weren't stacking up, they were just pushing each other off.
Yeah, we have that issue sometimes. Yeah, it's on the most humid days. On a normal day, you can feel it in here. It's a little more humid than it is on, in the morning. But I don't know that it's ever going to be perfect because it does not have a dehumidification system on there. I think we should look into something, or I think we might have some major problems with mold and other issues in the future, but we may want to look at that in our budget. Make
And there
sure.
was nothing in the original plans
Nothing.
that was missed by chance?
Probably not, cause it's expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why a lot of places,
They try to get away without having them, but it
I can
just,
see it on this side, but man, with the fresh air system, that was terrible.
yeah.
yeah, I agree. One of those necessary evils.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, again, they are still working on it. James is like, where are we at with this? What else needs to happen? So there is stuff going on in the background that I'm not understanding or aware of, but he is still continuing to work to try to get the system the best it could possibly be without that dehumidification system on there. So that's all I have for now.
Thank you. Flipping over here. Good and welfare. So our next meeting will be supervisor workshop, July 24th. We don't have anything slated for that right now, do we? Does anybody? I don't think we have anything on there, do we?
Not that I don't think there's anything really pressing. The, police or the firefighter volunteer can be pushed to next meeting.
To regular meeting? I just didn't know if there, sometimes we have things to work on, but, okay. And then supervisor meeting, regular supervisor meeting will be August 13th. Does anybody have anything else? Yes.
Yeah, if you could just clarify something for me. You were talking about the emergency call response. And that was the only thing you were talking about, right?
The emergency
township
call
employees.
response.
Responding,
Yes.
that's the only thing you
Yes.
were discussing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Anything else? for
Why,
anyone?
did we miss something?
Not as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, alright. Just checking.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have
Second.
a sec? Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. Have a wonderful evening.
Uh,
Oh, and
we
we
have
have an exec
executive.
meeting, but he did state that.
Yeah, we did.
Patrick did, yeah.